Hey guys. What's up? You might have seen my post before you're watching this. I would not mind this surprise quarantine on the anniversary of our last quarantine, nearly so much if it weren't for the National Latin exam that I was going to give you guys on Wednesday. I am definitely mad that I didn't just give it to you guys on Monday, because then maybe I could just enjoy this. But as it stands, this is kind of a complication. So, what I decided is that I passed off your tests to the front office. They're each in their own like manila folder. Um, if you guys could come by the school sometime between today or Friday, you could pick them up today if you want and take it today. But try to do it by Friday. So whenever it works for your parent to come with you to pick it up, it could be the beginning of school, the end of school. It could really be whenever the office is open. I guess they're technically kind of closed for a little while during dismissal. But you could pick it up, take it home, and do treat this with some seriousness. But if you could maybe like let your parent know that you're taking it, and they can kind of keep you accountable. Um, Time yourself to take it for no longer than 90 minutes. I don't think you'll need 90 minutes, but you can take up to 90 minutes if you want. I mean, you guys saw how short they are. They're pretty short, but you might want to spend some time on the story, um, and go ahead and take it. And yeah, I know I definitely don't have to say this, but like, don't use a dictionary or anything like that. It's just you, and you're gonna use pencil, um, number two pencil, and the test itself. It's a single page, so it's exactly the length of the practice tests and the old tests that we've been doing. So it's a single page front and back, and just take it with nothing around you, no resources at all. I really mean that, but I also know I don't need to say it, but I still gonna say it. And then when you're done, you can put it back in that folder and ask that your parent bring it back to the office. Technically, they don't even really need to bring it back this week, but it'd be kind of nice if you could get it back to the office by Friday, certainly by Monday. It'd be great if you could have them back by Monday. So this is kind of weird, and I don't think this is how the National Latin Exam intends us to be taking these. And it makes me kind of wish I had ordered digital versions of the tests. Um, but maybe that would be even more complicated. I think this is fine because I know you guys can take it without like cheating or anything. Um, uh, this will probably work out fine. So let me know if you have any questions, but I'm pretty sure you'll all have the ability to do that. I assume you might be coming anyway to the school to get some stuff. Um, so yeah, it's weird, but yeah. Um, so how about I do one more practice? I'll finish this practice test we were looking at yesterday, and then we'll just kind of be done talking about NLE. Maybe to encourage you guys to like take care of all of that. Maybe by tomorrow, even though you don't technically have to. I won't make a video for you guys on Wednesday, but then on Thursday I'll upload a video of chapter 33 notes. And let's see. I guess we don't have a test this week. We could do a quick turnaround. Instead of doing a video on Wednesday, we could do a vocab quiz on 33. And then before spring break, we do a translation quiz on 33. That kind of works. So this is to say, try to take your test and then maybe start looking at chapter 33 vocab. But I'll talk about that. I'll post something at least tomorrow. But yeah, I don't think I'll make a video on Wednesday, just as a way of symbolically giving you guys the full day to hopefully maybe take the National Latin exam. As you guys saw, the level of difficulty, like I feel like we could have some near perfect scores. Like it's a kind of test where there might only be one or two questions that you're kind of unable to answer correctly just because it's kind of out of our league or something, or it's asking about something we haven't covered. So that's kind of cool. I want to see y'all do well, and like I want to see what the results are. So if we can take this, then I can accept this quarantine. But right now, I'm kind of mad about it. All right, so I was starting off on this first one. That food is the worst which I have ever eaten. That's all it is. I thought AD there. It's from edo, edera, to eat. It is a pretty common verb, so it's kind of worth knowing. And obviously, we get edible from it. But I thought that was a passive infinitive, which is really throwing me off. It's actually just a first person singular perfect verb. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? So it's just ever have eaten. So that was worse though. We already went over that. Breve tempora, just in a short time. Viator is where we were when the bell rang. That means traveler. Oh wait, sorry, I'm skipping one, but that one was easy. Yeah, number 3, you didn't even need to translate the sentence to know that atque always means and, or like some version of and. Number 4 though is like the traveler. Facit iter is this term that we're seeing a lot that NLE seems to really like, which is to make a journey. The traveler makes a journey. And then we have duos dies in the accusative, something about 2 days. But if it's in the accusative, it's going to be duration, so for 2 days. Because within, even though within kind of means the same thing as for 2 days, within is actually something we can use for an ablative. Think of how, like, the actual term is ablative of time when, which, as weird as that sounds, it does describe what, like, how that's translated versus an ablative of duration. So yeah, I feel like you would almost be tempted by C, but that would only really work if it was duos da, like ablative. Okay, so roar to octo onos habet, 2 tres onos plures quam ea habes. So it's your sister has 8 years, meaning she's like 8 years old. You have 3 years, tres annos, plures, more quam than her. So we're just adding 8 to 3. It's pretty tricky, but I guess it does hinge on some translation. So it says, how many years do you have? How old are you? Is what they're saying. So it's going to be 11, and I guess 11 is one of the, actually it's not really one of the weird ones. It's just un decim, right? What else would it be? It's un decim. I guess you can only mess that up if you're not translating the numbers right, or if you failed to do very basic arithmetic, which I know you guys wouldn't. Cleopatra a serpenta necata est. This is not only pretty easy grammar, but if you know a little bit about Cleopatra, it's maybe even easier. Yeah, so it's by a serpent. They really want us to know that we know the ablative of agent, which is weird because it's such an easy ablative. But that's great. By a serpent. Okay. Necessa est puero epistulum legenti redire domum. This one's a little weird. It has a couple words that might throw you a bit. We actually have all of the words except epistulum, but that means letter. That's by serpent. Yeah. And redire means to return. I think we've seen redire here and there. But yeah. So okay, anyway, this is something about a letter. And legenti is from lego legere, which means to read or choose. If we're talking about a letter though, it's probably going to be read, right? So it is necessary to return the letter. Wait, what was it again? Okay, legenti is a present participle. The reading, it's actually going with boy. Okay, necessa est. Does that take a dative? Sorry guys, this always happens, I know. Takes a dative. Like it is necessary for the boy. Yeah. Okay, it takes a boy. First, I was like, is it taking redire first? It's necessary for the reading boy, which sounds a little awkward, but that's what's going on here. To return the letter to the house. So how are we supposed to know that legenti goes with boy and not something else? It is going to be the ending. If you remember these present active participles, which is what this is, it does tell us it's a present participle. Present active. They have the nt or sometimes ns if it's nominative, but that long I and they have third declension endings, which is important to know. So that long I has to be dative, so it's going with puero. So it is necessary for the reading boy. That just sounds weird. Well, that's what it is. To return the letter. That's one where I could see people getting thrown up. I guess if you look at all of them, like I can say very clearly isn't going with epistulum, and domum is also accusative in this place. like it's a locative. So yeah, maybe you can kind of like figure that out if you can remember that present active verbs have these third declension endings, even though it's going with the second declension puero. But yeah, necessa est, it takes a dative, so that's not something that we have seen too much. But it kind of makes sense. Like it is necessary for, right? What would usually follow a for that isn't in the form of like pro, which starts an ablative? Okay, number 8, nolita kura. This is like do not wish to run or just do not run. And then so we're looking like if this is somebody talking in the roads, in the paths. They're probably meaning that as like hallways, but it's somebody talking to students. So you're just looking for the form of students that fits nolita, which is not just imperative, but it's plural imperative. So this has to be a plural, and then what case? A vocative. So discipula, the one with the e ending, that might look tempting because that is like very clearly vocative with the e ending. It's the vocative we use for a nominative that ends in us. But nolita is a plural imperative, so it needs to be discipuli, which just matches a nominative plural. Ludos cum amici spectare mihi placet. Uh, Again, they just want us to know mihi placet means it pleases me. That's all that's going on there. You don't really need to spend time translating that unless you want. Fabulous. Bring me gifts. How would we say this? This is kind of tricky because we might not necessarily know exactly what the imperative for Pharaoh, Farah is, but I mean, we have some options here. A, it looks like it could be A. It actually, Fert is not. Pharaoh, that doesn't really look like it. Ferritus just looks second person plural. Um, but fur there at the end, that looks like it could be right. If you think about like bring me gifts, um, we actually wouldn't use may for that, right? It's like bring gifts to me. So mihi in the dative is actually the proper thing to do. And we see that in B and D. But D has the plural gifts, whereas B has a singular gifts, and it's the wrong form of the verb. So it's actually D here, is bring to me gifts, aka bring me gifts. So just be detail oriented in the way that you've always been when you're trying to translate. The gifts needs to be plural, me needs to be dative, bring needs to be imperative. Haec navis calerior illa est. We did not see a bunch of these even in the chapter, like it was 26 and 27 that had them, or was it 28? But it's like this ship is swifter or faster, illa, just illa floating there with a macron over the A. So that is than that ship. That's the ablative of comparison. We've more often seen it with quam, like quam illa, and an illa would actually be nominative with a quam, but you can do it without quam as long as you put the noun being compared in the ablative. And that's kind of the only thing that makes sense, really. By that, no, that doesn't. It's not a passive verb, so you wouldn't really have a by showing up from that. The other two just don't really make sense. Duobus magistris docti erimus. We will have been taught. That is a future perfect passive. Yeah. Cuius nationis. Cuius is often whose if it's talking about a person, but here we're asking about this nation. So it's like of which nation, of what nation rather. So that's going to be C. And then number 14, appareo, apparere is to appear. Go figure. Venus appears, and all the people happily shout. What would they say? Would they say, "Behold, our goddess has arrived," or Noom doesn't really make sense at all. Has our goddess not arrived? Noom is for a question, so that wouldn't fit here. It's not a question; it's an exclamation. Hue, Ewa. That is a long E. But they're not saying, "Oh no, the goddess has arrived." And D is it's kind of the same as B. It doesn't fit because it's B for a question. So it's going to be Eka. I don't know if we've gone over Eka, but that's like behold. So I think I mentioned it once, not as much as Yugapai or Awa. Awa? Is that what we're going to go with? Okay. Eka. Yeah, behold works because behold, it's kind of a positive thing. All right. Tiberius and Gaius were. And then it's just kind of like, figuring out what case it needs to be. We're saying that they're sons of Cornelia. And so it needs to just be nominative plural. Nothing else makes sense. Erant is the imperfect of sum essa or est. And it doesn't take a direct object. It takes a predicate nominative. So you got to keep in the nominative. All right, 16. Interdom means sometimes. Sometimes, bony, like good people or the good, mala faciunt. So what are we thinking? Sorry, this thing is blocking the answer to B. Sometimes good and bad things happen. That doesn't, we don't have like, it's not good and bad. That'd be bony, like maliqua. Sometimes good things seem bad. We don't really have seem. Seem is the passive of video. Sometimes good people do bad things. Yeah, I could see that. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. Not really. That would, no, not really. It wouldn't really work. Yeah. I mean, it's like the wrong verb for that. So it is C. It's C, right? None parentibus vestris gratius agitus. I don't like these. So surely you thank, don't you? Don't thank. So it's definitely not B. We can rule out B. A is tempting. You don't thank, do you? Maybe C. Why not thank? I think we can rule out D because it's not like cur. Or, cur means why. We don't have that happening. So let's go with A. Surely you think, don't you? So maybe file this away because we don't have a word for surely necessarily. But apparently that's kind of the thrust of none. I will say, to me, C seems equivalent to A, honestly. You don't think, do you? Versus surely you think, don't you? But, so I guess it's like the don't you, okay? Because there is this negation happening, like, right? There's the non, but I guess you're not supposed to negate the verb necessarily, because that would be you do not think, do you? So whatever you're asking with none, there's the kind of thrust of the word surely, and then don't you or do you not is what you're looking for, not do you. And that kind of makes sense because again, it's like non. Don't necessarily apply the non to the verb, which is what we've always done. But think of it as don't you. Don't you give thanks to your parents? Surely, right? And so that's what it is. Atalanta, apparently they want you to know relative pronouns, but it's just the nominative ones. That's just who. What else would it be? It's just Atalanta, who was, very fast. Saul the golden apple. Caesar crossed the Rhine River. So what is the Rhine River? It's the one separating France and Germany. Okay, we might not necessarily know that, but I think you guys would know it's not the Britons. There's not a river separating France from Britain, right? We know you maybe when you hear 55, don't think of the Gallic War, but that's smack dab in the middle of the Gallic War. If the 40s is when Julius Caesar is crossing the Rubicon and hunting down Roman senators in Pompey and hanging out with Cleopatra and then getting assassinated, the 50s are when he's in Gaul. The 60s is when he's consul. No, actually, the 60s are when Catiline does his conspiracy. It's the beginning of the 50s when Julius, let's see, what is it? Julius Caesar is elected consul in 64? Huh, okay. All right, anyway. Dates hard to keep track of. But, okay, Britons would be weird because it's the English Channel separating England and France. He doesn't really have many campaigns that are well known around Greece other than, destroying Pompey's forces. The Spaniards, he does have some campaigns in Spain, but none we've talked about. Maybe Rhine rings a bell as Western Europe, not including Spain. But yeah, I mean, here's his map. Now you know. If it comes up again, the Rhine is kind of near Germany. The flag of France is red, white, and blue. That's pretty easy. So it's going to be Caeruleus, Albus, and Ruber. If the teacher says to the class, Claudita libros vestros as aperite ores vestras, maybe I could put this together, but claudire is to close your books. Aperire is to open, in this case, your ears. So they're asking for your attention. Theseus and Pirithous went to the underworld, but Pluto tricked them into sitting on the chair of forgetfulness. What other hero pulled Theseus out the chair to help him return to the world above? I do actually recall mentioning this once when we talked about Theseus last year. I would not blame you guys for not remembering. It's actually Hercules. I think it's like a weird intersect, like it's a point where Hercules and Theseus kind of overlap. I, I I could be wrong, but I think this is like when Hercules is doing his 12 labors and he happens to be down in the underworld taking care of the whole Cerberus part of that episode, and he just happens to like see that Theseus is in trouble and he helps him out. So it's kind of weird to think that those two heroes are kind of doing their things at the same time. But that's pretty obscure. It seems like most of the myths they ask about are way less obscure. That one's a little more obscure. If you really want to be prepared, maybe before you take the NLE, just like skim the Wikipedia pages of Theseus, Perseus, Hercules, and Jason. It might do you some good. Atalanta too, apparently. What island? I think we know all the beats of Atalanta's story. What island located between Italy and North Africa became Rome's first province? You don't need to know this if you even know just a little bit of geography. I mean, what's between Italy and North Africa? Cyprus, I could see throwing you off, but Cyprus is an island on the east side of Greece. So that is not really close at all. Britain is definitely not between Africa and Italy. And Crete is more between Africa and like Greece or Turkey. Well, Greece. So that doesn't really fit either. It is Sicily. Okay, you might think of Sicily as Italy. I can maybe see that throwing you off. But yeah, Italy's that big old chunk of land on the tip of the peninsula, and Scylla and Charybdis are between the peninsula and Sicily. And then there's Cyclopses on Sicily. A lot of crazy stuff going on around Italy in the into the Bronze Age. All right, thread, wax, and feathers. I don't even need to read the rest of it to know we're talking about Daedalus, who formerly know this is probably the hardest one of the whole test. Who formerly known as Octavian became the first Roman emperor and ushered in the Pax Romana. It is Augustus. What Latin phrase is equivalent to the expression procerto? So this is not one of those well-known phrases, but you know, like what would that mean? It's something like for the sake of certainty or on behalf of certainty. So what fits there? Magnum opus. That's like when you're talking about an artist's like masterwork. Sine dubio. I've never seen it. I'll come back to it, and we can try to figure out what that would mean. Cum laude, with praise. Nolo contendere. I wish to contend. So what actually fits here? What would sine dubio, if you had to guess what sine dubio means? We do have dubito, the verb. So maybe it's that, like without doubt. And that is what that means. That is the correct answer. So even though we've never seen dubious, the adjective, which literally means dubious, spelled slightly differently, you can maybe put this together a little bit if you're thinking of dubito. Otherwise, maybe not. But none of the other ones really seem to work. All right. The Latin ending tas is found in humanitas, libertas, and pietas. This is kind of cool. I don't know if I've ever fully thought of this. What ending does that like equal in English? If you think about it, and you can just try all of them, it will be the ty, right? Humanity, liberty, piety. It does. I will say it doesn't actually work for every as third declension. I often make fun of these as ending third declension nominatives because they can be kind of annoying. Cupiditas, paupertas, kiwitas. They don't quite work. Like kiwitas, it doesn't really like civility maybe, but civility is different than you know. Civitati, whatever that would be. Kivitas with just a Y at the end. Wouldn't actually be an English word. That's kind of interesting. I think I gloss over 28 and 29 because they're really easy, because I just wanted to get to this. Do I not have the questions in front of me? Uh-oh. Oh, I do. Okay. 28. Your colleague is quite belligerent. Would belligerent be knowledgeable, loud, aggressive, lazy? Y'all probably already know what belligerent means. Aggressive. I guess they're wanting you to like run that through your understanding of the word bellum. Bellum, we get bellicose, and rebel, means war. So it's kind of warlike or aggressive. And then which state motto declares that its citizens are trying to preserve their rights? Ad astra per aspera, Kansas, which means like to the stars through difficulty. B, labor omnia vincit, work conquers all. That doesn't really mean that. C, esse quam videri, to be rather than to be seen. North Carolina doesn't really fit. Or audamus iora nostra defender. We dare to defend our rights. Yeah, that works. It's Alabama. You wouldn't even necessarily need to translate all of those to probably put that together. So hopefully you have this. I don't think I have the questions, do I? And I don't really. I'm gonna run through this real quick. Feel free to pause and like spend some time with this reading as though you were actually taking the test. But I think I would bore the heck out of you guys, like I probably have already done, if I like slowly go through this. So number 30 asks what location Aulus and Lucius are sailing from, where they're headed. Um, and so we can kind of just look at lines 1 and 2 to figure that out. They gloss some good words for us here, but I went through and tried to find the words that I don't think we have ourselves. So Serenus means serene. That is something you could guess. Fieri is probably not something you could guess because it turns out Faccio has a wildly irregular passive infinitive. So that would be something. Where does Fieri show up? That's in the line 4. That maybe wouldn't. That might affect. Oh yeah, that affects 32 a little bit. We'll come to that. Anyway, imploro I misspelled is to beg, but if you know implore in English, you might be able to figure that out. Subito is suddenly. Um, and repente is suddenly. What was that word that means immediate? Oh, proteinus is immediately. I was getting proteinus and repenta mixed up. Unda is wave. I don't really know how y'all would know that. I don't think it's come up. Recado is to recede. Y'all should be able to get that. And eventum, don't overthink it. It means event. So let's see. So where are they coming from? They're two sailors of Rome in the first line, from the city of Athens to the city Brundisium. We now know that Brundisium is on the east side of the peninsula in Italy. So they're going from Greece to Italy. It's B for 30. 31, what word should be understood between chylum and chlorum in line 3? So we look at line 3. They tell us something about their ship was named Fortune. Was able to carry, or carries, portat. There's that verb that apparently we don't officially have. Porto portar is to carry in line 3. Carries 3 jars of wine. Amphora is jar, and they gloss that for us. The winds are serene, and the sky is clear. So what is going between? I mean, that's very easy. It's sunt, right? It's just sunt. It's not difficult at all, so that's good. That's the verb for saying the sky is clear, right? What modern phrase is the closest in meaning to quod malum fiera potest? Again, let's say we didn't know fieri at all, which we don't, right? We've never talked about how it's weird. It's never come up that Faccio has this wildly weird passive infinitive, but that is what that is. And so, what is the meaning of this evil thing? That seems a little long-winded for just these 4 words. I mean, that does happen in Latin sometimes when it translates to English, but like meaning, unless fieri means meaning, I don't see how that. And like, we know what potest means, right? What could go wrong? So even though potest is present, could is on the right track for could. Why can't we agree to disagree? Now I don't see, so can't I kind of like, because it's almost like potest, but that's non-potest, right? So that doesn't fully fit. And then must everything have a reason? Again, we're not saying the word causa, like reason or cause or something, ratio for reason. So it is B. So that's something we could maybe figure out ourselves. Okay, let's rush through these last ones. In line 5, Alice asks the god. If you look at it, it's actually very clear. It says, this is line 5. He says, Serva. Oh, wait. Actually, start at line 4. Alice, he implores Jove and Neptune from the gods aid. Auxilium is aid. He asks, will you all protect us from clouds and waves? So he's asking for them to save them from the storm. D. 34. Where does Alice say he will pour the wine? It's into the sea. I feel like that would be pretty clear cut. That's line 6. Don't they like gloss that for us? I will pour, oh wait, onto the deck of the ship? Let's see. I could be wrong. 1 second. Let's see. The sailors take 2 or bear 2 jars to the deck, and they pour the wine into the sea. So they think we're going to get caught up on deck of the ship. But if you just see in mare, fundo is this verb for to pour. They tell us that. And so they pour the wine into the sea, not onto the decks of the ship. I could almost see you like blessing a ship by doing that, but it kind of makes more sense to pour into the sea if you're wanting protection from waves. Okay, so it is B35. What Latin word in the passage for parati, Molly, a pugnot? What foreshadows that? Paius Aventum shows up in line 8. So after the storm dies down, they say like soon, even worse, an even worse event nevertheless approaches. That's line 8. So yeah, I guess the fact that they tell us a worse event is going to come. Predicts that pirates are going to happen. Which, can you believe the Latin for pirate is pirata? Go figure. Line 10, for what were the pirates searching? Water or wine? That's pretty clear. They, in line 10, the parati, seeking either water or wine. Aut aquam, aut vinum. It's pretty easy. 37, according to lines 4 and 5, to which god do Aulus and Lucius not pray? So they pray to Jove, and then Bacchus, because Bacchus is the god of wine, and Neptune is who they pray to at the same time as Jupiter, just like, to pray for their safety in general because they're on the sea. So it's not Mercury. Mercury never comes up. 38, how was Lucius's prayer fulfilled? The pirates left thinking there was no wine on board because they checked the 2 amphoras that were empty that they had poured out into the water already. That is something I think you can intuit, but it's not too hard to figure out. Line 11, it says, then the pirates see the vacuous, the empty 2 jars, and with anger they depart without wine. All right, last 2. Lucius and Aulus started the journey with 20 jars full of wine. How many jars do they have when they arrive? So this is just, doing simple math and knowing what the Latin word is for this number. It's going to be 18, right? 2 minus 20, or 20 minus 2. Duo de vigenti. 40, Aulus and Lucius' ship lived up to his name because the gods answered their prayers twice. Yeah, that's all that fits. That's all they call it fortune, and like they were fortunate. They don't get more wine though, and their jars don't get filled with wine. All right, sorry, I felt like that was really boring. There's some slides you can pause on. We went over that. There are some words here, especially Ewach and Yugapai. Just Yuga is also a positive interjection. You might want to look at those interrogatives. There's way too many of those. Might pause on any of these, just to make sure you know how these work. You want to know where the C's are. You want to know the basics of the basic mythological guys and the colors. It's an unsatisfying slide about bathhouses, but they're called thermae, and they have like frigidarium as in frigid, and tepidarium as in tepid. So hopefully, and caldarium, that's a hot room. So hot room, warm room is tepidarium, the cold room is frigidarium. It's like a refrigerator, right? These are words that have been coming up on these practice tests that we do not have. So who knows, they could show up again on the 2021 test. Do I want to point out any of them necessary? That's imploro, not imporo, sorry. Soxum, rock, I'll probably know that now. Propinquo, to approach, it's a horribly long word. Claudo and apero, apparently those are, so claudo for to close, aperio to open, not to be confused with apero, to appear. Oh my gosh, to appear. Don't get it mixed up like I just did. And then, so viator's traveler, interdom sometime. Interdom is actually pretty common, worth knowing. Epistolary is an English word that means having to do with letters. And then I could not find the lists. Maybe I'll try to post them in Teams. But when y'all gave me those words that y'all had trouble with, and I made the Jeopardy out of, I couldn't find the slide. Maybe like I deleted it after I made. Oh wait, no, here it is. Here it is. Well, let me say what these all mean, and then we'll be done with the video. Molio is to soften. Ostendo is to display, extend, show. We have like 7 words for to show. It's kind of weird. To rise, like to surge upward, I guess. Course, race for cursus. Liquette, we've not seen Liquette on. We're told we should know it, but it has not shown up in any of these older tests. But it is permitted. Dehink is then. Not Denique. Denique is finally. Tom Quam is It's like such. So, Correo is to lack. Nepos is descendant. Sorry, I technically should have done this before. I'm not satisfied with Tom Quam. 1 second. This is a fascinating video. So yeah, we're just forced to reckon with the fact that e-learning, like streaming's, I don't know. Maybe I'll try to stream next week because at least it's not so one-sided. 1 second. Tom Quam. Tom Quam as just as much as just as much as. Ugh. Okay, sorry. It's getting mixed up with a just regular Tom. Okay, so it's kind of like oot with an indicative. Descendant. This is really upper tier quality e-learning video right here. Limit, boundary, territory more like when it's plural. It, he or she says, oh my gosh, type. Is that one bolded? To ask. It's kind of like, please. We already talked about those. To make a journey. Hooray, alas. This is rabble, mob. This is immediately. This is to need, want. It's kind of like Correo. Well, no, sometimes. Just kidding. Once. Olin is also once. Price dough. To present, show, stand before. Prefer. Like Malo. To fill up. Complete. To open. Tom Quam, just as much as. Now I know it for sure. And this is to lift, raise up, or destroy, or 700 other things. Okay, if you made it through this video, you are actual champion of Latin. Let me know if y'all have any questions about picking up the NLE. Please let me know when you do it. And that'll make me really happy to see that y'all are able to do it. Otherwise, I will communicate with you guys tomorrow, but I guess I'll hold off on making the video. It'd be great if y'all could take the test tomorrow, but you have until Friday. If you don't take it till Friday and don't turn it in until Monday, that's really fine. But I guess the sooner the better. Either way, if you do it by Monday, either way, I'm happy. All right, thank you.